Hi everyone! So in this video I'm going to show you how to take your own measurements, and you're only going to need a measuring tape. It can be either in centimeters or inches, it doesn't matter, whatever you prefer, whichever you choose, just stick with that. I personally prefer centimeters over inches because centimeters are actually more accurate to me. Also in Hungary this is what we use. We use inches in the UK, but I still think that centimeters can be more accurate. Use whichever is more suitable and comfortable for you. So first of all, if you have long hair like me, let's get that out of the way. Also, to take your own measurements, you need to wear like tight fitted clothing. Or if no one is watching, maybe don't wear anything at all, and that's the best way to actually take your own measurements. I would suggest you to take your own measurements at the middle of the day, because in the morning we all usually a bit more slim, we weigh less because we haven't eaten anything yet, also we are not bloated at all. And on the evening, we are actually heavier than during the day. So try to do it during the day because that's going to be the best to fit everything on you. So we are going to start it with the top measurements. For the tops, the most important measurements are the bust line, bust or chest. And this one, we have to measure it around our bust line. We usually measure across the nipples, and we have to measure it around our body. When we do the measurements, it's always recommended to leave like an extra centimeter or maybe like a finger room between the measuring tape and yourself, because this is going to give some extra comfort. The next one is the waistline. So the waistline is supposed to be the narrowest point on our body. This is around like 4-5 centimeters or 2 inches above our belly button. So this is our waistline, and we always measure it around. When we do our measurements, I usually recommend just tying a piece of ribbon on our waistline, because we are going to be measuring a lot of things from our waist. I'm going to use these cotton ribbons because it's going to be really helpful later on. Ta-da! So many times when we are making shirts like this one, what I'm just wearing here, it's good to know the distance between your underarm and your waistline. And this one is, you measure it from the middle of your underarm down to your waist. Knowing this measurement, it's going to give you enough movement to your shirt and the sleeves to move it around without any discomfort in this area. After that, we're gonna need a measurement for the shoulders. Always measure from the top of the shoulder to the other. These 2 points, the 2 tops of your shoulders, are going to be the points where you attach your sleeves to the armholes, which to me is 37 centimeters. And then we are going to measure the sleeves. So for the sleeves, we are going to measure it from the top of our shoulders, just where we just measured the shoulders distance. So we are going to measure from this point down to the required length. So if you just would like to get short sleeves, you just measure the required sleeve length. If you want a length that's under your elbow, for that I always recommend you to bend your elbow for that length, because many times in many fabrics, when you do this bending with your arm, the sleeve's length actually jumps up a bit when you bend it. Not with this one, because this is a really stretchy material, but with with many fabrics that are not stretchy, you can actually see that when you bend your elbow, the length of the sleeve is actually jumps back a bit. So just to make sure that the length of the sleeve is going to be long enough, try to measure the full sleeve's length with your elbow bended. It's gonna be a bit tricky. It's better if you have someone to help you out to hold the tape there, but you can do it for yourself too. Just like I'm going to do it for myself too now. So basically, hold the top of your shoulder. You have the elbow bended. And see, that's how I'm measuring it. Top of the shoulder until our wrist. It showed me 66 centimeters. And this is a good length to leave your sleeves like this, because you can always shorten it. You can try and see if you want to shorten it. It's always better to leave things longer, because if it's longer, you can still shorten it. But if it's already too short, well, it's quite a trouble to try to make it longer, because possibly you're going to have to recut the whole thing. And then we're gonna need to know your biceps, or well, it should be like in my case. We are going to measure around there. So this is where I should have my biceps. I'm working on it. But this is the widest point of my arm. And this is the measurement I'm going to need for sleeves. We are also going to need the wrist, or wherever you're going to finish your sleeve. If you're gonna have a baggy sleeve like a t-shirt which is going to finish here, you don't really need to take this measurement seriously. You just measure it around where you want the sleeves to be finished. And it doesn't need to be really accurate, because I guess it's going to be baggy, because most of the t-shirts are baggy, but it depends from your design. But you can just leave it a bit more loose, depending on how loose you want the t-shirt sleeves to be. It all depends on your design, but you have to make sure it's wide enough for your arm. If you want long sleeves like this shirt I'm wearing, you're going to have to measure your wrist. And you just measure the wrist around like this. And here you have to make sure you leave enough room for actually your arm to go through. Really? You have to try and see how you can fit your arm through. So for me it's 19.5 centimeters. You have to make sure your hands can go through, because if it's too small, and if you're not working with a stretchy fabric and you just measure your wrist like this, which is 16 centimeters in my case, and if I'm not using a stretchy fabric, it's gonna be impossible to move my arm out of that hole or into that hole. Obviously, the stretchier the fabric, the smaller you can leave the space. If you want to do a turtleneck, you're also going to need to measure your neck. This is easy. You just measure your neck down and leave that extra centimeter or finger space here for the extra comfort. I would suggest you to actually measure in the armhole around your arm. This measurement is always around 40-50 centimeters, and it always can be adjusted. But for the first time, just measure it around. Once you do these movements, this number is gonna become bigger and bigger. You move your arm, you actually need more movement than when you're just standing still. So after all these movements, I actually going to need 46 centimeters around my arm for a body tie design. Obviously, if you don't want a tie design, if you want a baggy design, then you're gonna leave this number to be bigger, around 50 centimeters, depending on the design. But you will get the hang of it once you try to make a top. And you're gonna practice and practice, and you will see what's best for you. One other important measurement on the top, which is from shoulder down to your waistline through your bust. So this measurement is going to be really important, probably for dresses that are starting from the waist, and especially if you have bigger breasts, because you need to have enough room to fit them in. Here's your shoulder. We're not going to start it from the top of the shoulder, we are going to start it from the middle of the shoulder. So from the middle of the shoulder down through the bust line where it's the most pointy, so down through the bust line, down to the waistline, and this is going to be the distance between your waist and shoulder. Also, you can do a measuring for your shoulders. So if you want to see, how wide this part of your outfit needs to be, you just need to measure from the top of your shoulder until your neckline. On this outfit, this is the neckline. We are going to measure from the top of the shoulder to where its neckline is. And this one has neckline here, which is only 6 centimeters. But if you want this line to be somewhere here, you're gonna measure it to this point from the top of your shoulder to the required neckline. So if you want the neckline to be here, just measure this. Once you've done with the top, we are gonna move down to the hip, and then we'll move the camera down as well. So now we are gonna do the hip area. Most of the people who don't know how to take measurements, when I ask them to take the hip measurement, they just take the measurement where their trousers are sitting. And usually they take the measurement of a low-rise jeans, which is here. And to me, this is not the hip measurement. This is not the actual hip measurement. So in order to get better measurements from my customers, I divided the hip measurements into 2 sections. So I give the name of upper hip. So this is the measurement what usually people give me when I ask for hip. But this is not what I actually understand under the name hip. I'm going to show you in the next one what I consider as hip measurement. So this one is the upper hip. So the actual hip measurement is the widest point for most of us on our body, which goes around our butt, around the widest point on our butt. And this is the actual hip measurement. And this is really important for fitted dresses. There's another important measurement here, which is used for bodysuits. I have lots of drag queens who request bodysuits, and many times they actually tend to mess up this measurement, but it's a really important one, otherwise it's not gonna suit well. The distance between the middle of your collarbones, so here are your collarbones, and here there's a small hole between your collarbones, so the distance between this hole and your crotch. This is a really important one, because otherwise, if you don't take this measurement correctly, the bodysuit, catsuit is gonna be tight and it's going to be pushing you down, bending your body. You won't be able to stand tall and move freely. So again, the hole between your collarbones, measured down to your crotch. You need to stand still. You need to stand tall. You can't just bend like this. Don't bend, because then it's not gonna give you the proper measurement. It's not gonna be accurate if you do any bending. So stand straight back, look forward, and just measure it with your hand, going down into your crotch. This is honestly the most single important measurement for bodysuits, catsuits. And now we are going to move down to our legs. The first measurement we are gonna take is our thighs. You're gonna measure around our thighs where it's the widest, around 4 inches, then 12 centimeters from our crotch. Bend your knees and lift your leg to make sure that the measurement, what you're holding here, is not too tight. You need to make sure that it gives you enough room to move around and it's not tight here around. We are also going to do a crotch measurement, depending where you're gonna have your trousers finishing. So you're gonna either make a trousers that goes up to your waistline, up to your belly button, up to your upper hip line. So depending what kind of trousers you want, starting from that point, let's say we are making a low-rise jeans. We are gonna put our measuring tape here and we're gonna move it around our crotch and just measure it above our bum. Make sure that it covers everything. So even when you try to sit down, bend forward, place where you're marking your measuring tape right now is not moving too down like this, because ideally we don't want to show that part of us. But who knows what kind of design you're making? It's up to you. If you want the trousers that's reaching your waistline, then place the measuring tape to your waistline from the front to the back. You can try to, sit down, bend, see how it feels, if it's tight. So this measurement is going to be the crotch line. Now we're going to do an inside seam, and the inside seam needs to be measured from your crotch, where open your legs. So you measure it from your crotch down to the required length of the trouser. So my trouser is finishing here. So this is the measurement I'm going to write down, which is 76 centimeters for my inside leg. So from crotch going down to the required length of the trousers. Again, 76. I double took it, so I'm sure it's good. If you want, you can also take one from the outside. So if you're making a trouser that's finishing at your waistline, measure it from the waist down to the required length. In this case, try not to bend, because that won't give you accurate measurements. You can also take measurements on the middle of your leg, especially if you're doing workouts and you have really nice muscles here. It's worth to take measurements here just in case, to make sure that the trousers are gonna be big enough. So to make sure that this measurement is good, you need to do the exact same thing as we did with our wrist. So this is a really stretchy fabric. These are yoga pants. So because this is stretchy, with this one, you can easily just measure your ankle around. And that's gonna be the perfect measurement for your trousers if it's stretchy like this one. But if you're making jeans, for example, or any kind of trousers that are not stretchy like this one, you need to make sure that your whole feet gonna go through that hole. It's really important, otherwise you won't be able to put the trousers on, because your feet are wider here than here. And now we are gonna take measurement for skirts. And for skirts, when we are making skirts, many times we want floor length gowns. And for that, I'm gonna wear some short heels. Even for trousers, if you want trousers that are actually covering your feet and you want to wear heels with the trousers, I advise you to actually wear your heels that you want to wear with those specific trousers or skirts, because you're gonna have to make the measurements including the heels that you're going to wear with your outfit. These are quite short because I can't actually walk in high heels. I don't know how people do that, but to me it's impossible even just to stand in them. So when we are actually wanting to wear trousers with heels and we want the trousers to cover those heels, we have to do the measurements with our heels on. And we have to measure again from our crotch down to the floor. We want the trousers to finish. And in this case, you have to make sure that you're not bending your knees. If you're measuring with your knees bended, you're gonna end up getting a different number. So here I got 88. Previously it was 86. And the problem is, if I measure like this, if I bend my knees and I use that number, which is 88, when I'm actually going to be walking in the trousers, it's going to be too long. The 2 centimeters are gonna make a huge difference, because if it's too long, you're gonna keep stepping on it. So you have to make sure that your legs are straight while you're doing the measurement. Let's make the measurements for skirts. And it is going to be really easy, because the only measurement you're gonna need is from your waist down to the required length of the skirt. So it's completely up to you how long the skirt you want it to be. You just need to measure it from your waist down to the required length. But when you're making a floor length skirt, full length dress, you have to make sure that when you're doing the measurement, you don't bend your knees. Because if you bend your knees, you're not gonna get accurate measurements. So make sure that when you're doing this measurement, you just bend forward with your body and go down to the floor step by step until your required length. So make sure your legs are straight like this. So that's all about measurements taking. I hope you find it understandable and easy to follow my instructions. Also, if you're struggling taking your own measurements, maybe ask someone to help you out. And if you're not sure about something, just make sure you double take your measurements or triple take. You can take it as many times as you want to, just practice it. And with practice, it's gonna get easier and easier to take yours and other people's measurements. So that's it for today, and good luck practicing, and see you next time. Bye!